In other news, tropical storm Isaias is on track to hit Florida this weekend. The storm carrying 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds and bringing heavy rains and flooding to Puerto Rico. It's expected to make landfall over the Dominican Republic later today, bringing 3 to 6 inches of rain. The storm expected to reach Florida by Saturday and move up the East Coast later in the week. Joining us now is Chief Forecaster from weatherbell.com, Joe Bastardi. Joe, thanks for joining us as always.
Yeah, I was here last week for Hannah, and even if you remember, it said, hey, a week from now we may be doing this again, but the southeastern United States. Our forecast is for this to become a hurricane, but probably stay just east of Florida. You've got to understand with that Florida coast, unless you're hitting south of West Palm Beach, let's say from West Palm Beach to Key West, it's very tough to drive a storm in coming from the southeast. You saw what happened with Matthew, for instance, stayed offshore. And that's because of the way the coastline is shaped. If there is a weak steering current, the hurricane wants to stay out over the water. However, the Carolinas jut out. And the fear we have here at Weatherbell is that by the time this reaches the North Carolina, South Carolina coast, it's a Category 2 hurricane, and our track is actually very, very close to you, Mark, come Monday. So that's something to consider. And then it'll continue moving on up into Long Island, a classic swath. And for those of you who followed us on Weatherbell and occasionally may look at my Twitter, as much as that's hard to bear, you notice from April we put on that chart of where we expected the activity to occur, and so far that's exactly what's happening. This is coming. This is the first, well, Hannah was, but this is the second Atlantic wave coming off Africa. The other ones all developed in non-traditional methods, but this particular feature is a classic system coming across that we see coming. They develop late, and the later they develop, folks, the better the chance for them to hit the United States because they don't recurve early. And by the way, there's another feature out there that in about 6 or 7 days may also try to threaten the eastern seaboard. But I think when push comes to shove, that'll recurve to the east down the road.
So what are the chances of Isaias turning into a hurricane?
I think they're very good. We actually, I took the track this morning. I like the Hurricane Center track. And, when you read their discussions, these are brilliant people down in Miami, you understand that track is a compromise of all the tracks. And the intensity says, well, what if it's over land? It's going to be weaker. But if it actually follows that track, and I believe it's going to stay out over the water, I think it's going to become a hurricane. And so, if you say yes or no, I like to make a forecast. I think it's a yes, and it may be a hurricane by Saturday when it's going very, very close to Nassau. We've had a client for Nassau Port is one of our clients, and we talk with them and talk with the Bahamian Weather Service as to coordinate some of the stuff so they could get extra guidance. So I think that area, the Bahamas, is coming right through the stepping stones, as we call them, and then after that, east of Florida, and then up. Now look. This is not etched in stone. We all know that only God knows tomorrow, all right? And humility is something that the weather teaches you real quick. So I could be wrong about this, so stay tuned.
All right. How can people prepare, Joe, especially with COVID-19 restrictions?
Well, I don't comment on the whole COVID thing because you can get yourself in trouble with that. But regular preparation, if you remember what Irene was like around here, that may be something to think about, okay? So that was back in 2011 when Irene came across. It actually passed a little bit east of us. This may be very similar. Landfall on the North Carolina coast and then on up across. I think the rain amounts 4 to 8 inches. If it follows the track, I believe it's going to track. And the wind's going to be crucial because if it passes just west of us and it's still a hurricane, you get that east-southeast wind, jam the water back into the lower Chesapeake Bay. But in general, folks, I mean, the hurricane safety rules, I would just get on the NOAA site and follow them. I mean, these people, FEMA and NOAA, they know what they're doing.
All right, Joe Bastardi, Chief Forecaster for weatherbell.com. Thank you, Joe.